Morning, Zoom friends. Welcome to yoga with me, Jim, here at the Brighton Buddhist Center, right here. Hope you're well. I presume you can hear me okay. Can someone give me a thumbs up? Great. And just to double check, you can still hear me back here. Still hear me okay? Thank you. Thank you so much. I'm going to start by standing up, actually. Here at the Buddhist Center in real life, we have some very tired yogins. Got to see what we can do. So we're going to stand at the short end of our mat facing the midline of the room. Yeah, that's it. About the length of your foot away from the end of the mat, with your toes spread, feet together or close. Arms down naturally, head up lightly. Breath expressive, breath honest. Breath indicative of release. Reiteration of presence through movement, such as movement of the feet that echoes through the body, through the legs and the pelvis and the gluteal muscles and the back muscles, and right up through the neck as well. Breath, if you can, through the nose. So deep, natural, expressive breath through the nose if possible. Movement not only hydrates on a physical level, but hydrates on a mental level as well, so to speak. That is to say, when you move physically, it brings in an increased amount of hyaluronic acid to the body. That also contributes to a sense of flow mentally. This is one of the realizations of yoga, maybe the main realization of yoga, that everything is interdependent. So much so that you can say that everything is one, which indeed texts like the Sankhya Karika do say, everything is one. So that if there's flow in the body, there's flow in the mind. And what is that flow? Non-attachment. Yogins call it non-attachment. And it comes about because of the realization of flow, which is also known as anitya, which is a big focus for Buddhists. When you're ready, raise your arms up. As you raise up. Tone the tummy from pubis to chest until you feel the pelvic floor. Adds a little bit of buoyancy or stability or encouragement for energy to be nudged up into what is called the central channel, Madhya Nadi. So still movement, it can be helpful. Still there's movement, left, right, forwards, backwards. Purposeful movement. Movement that has the purpose of absorption, of regathering. It's a common experience, so much so that the Yoga Sutra mentions it as the overarching obstacle. Having mentioned all the other obstacles, it mentions this as the overarching obstacle, and that is scatteredness, or scatteredness of the mind, citta vikshepas. So as you're moving here, as we're moving now, moving our arms, moving our body, moving our feet, our intention is to regather the stray parts of our experience that have spun off here or spun off there, that are caught up in this vortex of thoughts and ideas and opinions, or that vortex of thoughts and ideas and opinions, and bring them together. This is called Urdhva Hasta Tadasana, and we're using it to incorporate. Now from here, we're going to raise up strongly, and we're going to fold over hands flat, which means often, if not always, bent knees. So breathe easy. I'm not saying the knees have to be bent, but I'm just saying it's most likely to be the best position for you to feel happy and well and contented. Movement, again, helps. It helps to not only circulate, but also increase the quantity of hyaluronic acid in the fascia. And as I've mentioned, that in turn, or simultaneously, not in turn, but simultaneously loosens the mind. Make sure your hands are looking level. Middle fingers face forwards, and then step back to your Adho Mukha Svanasana, downward facing dog. Check again, just once. The hands are equidistant from the sides of the mat, same as each other, left hand, same as the right hand, and that they look similar in terms of their position. They're not turned in, and the middle fingers do face forwards. And also check your feet.
Look back at your feet. Make sure they're equidistant from the sides of the mat as well. Then there's scope for lila, play. There's a lot of scope for play. Again, we're massaging the pose, as it were, into the body. And as the pose is massaged in the same way that oil might be massaged into the body, we massage the pose in. As the pose goes in, whatever the body was holding from a night of dreaming or from a day of thinking or from views and opinions, whatever the body was holding begins to release. So we've got this play, pelvis moving left, pelvis moving right, bending the knees, reiteration up through the back. Morning, Tanya. Up through the back again and again and again. Okay. Looking at the point between your hands, we're either going to step or jump or whatever we can do to get our feet back. So anything you can do that seems, rational, civilized, courteous to one's own body. We're back in a version of Uttanasana, almost certainly with bent knees. Occasionally some people just have these very open hamstrings, and that's fine as well to have straight legs. But I think even if that were the case, being as it's the one of the first poses of our practice, movement still will be very, very helpful in terms of integrating the pose, absorbing the pose, rather than just letting it stick on top of the rest of our experiences. It wants to come in and it wants to purge the body of whatever else it was holding. So keep breathing, jaw soft, eyes soft, brain soft. We're going to bend ankles, knees, and hips. We're going to raise the arms up behind us. Utkata. Utkata means to squat in Sanskrit. It can also mean fierce in certain circumstances. Arms forwards and up. So Utkatasana. Whether you take Utkatasana low, middle, or high, it matters only that you're creating or feeling or surrendering to a sense of flow, which might mean physical movement that is observable externally, or it might just be more subtle, but you can feel it. Stand when ready, big circle when ready, hands to heart, Tadasana Namaskara, deep breaths. So deep, expressive breaths. So the breath is like a sort of pump that cycles around the body, energy, prana. And as that new energy comes in, old energy, it meets old energy, which has to come out. On its way out, it comes up into consciousness, into awareness. So whatever arises during yoga, make sure to be spacious around it, not to get caught up in it. It's on its way out. Make sure not to stand in front of the exit. Raise the arms again when you're ready. Breathe through your nose if you're ready. Deeply. Move in ways that feel to you like they're incorporative. They're incorporating this fiber, that fiber. Again and again. Look for space, look for lift, look for flow that you feel everywhere. Everything is a quote that we could attribute to many different sources. Many different sources say everything is everything in their own different way. The Upanishads, for example, say everything is everything by positing an underlying continuum, Brahman, that's underneath everything else, that everything else essentially is deep down. Other texts like Buddhism says everything's interdependent, co-created, praticca samutpada, and so on. Okay, inhale, lift up. Exhale, fold over the top of the front thighs, hands flat, knees bent, probably. It could be that you find pedaling your heels or knees in some way helps to create that softness that is then mirrored in your breath. We're looking for a softness that is then mirrored in your breath, that is indicative of this coming in and finding whatever is in the body. As I say, even if it's the first thing you do in the morning, you've probably been busy in the night with dreams or restlessness or just laying in bed awake. Sorry for anyone who did. But the point is, there's always something happening. So when you go in, when you bring something in, it invites whatever was in there to come out. This is how we keep the nerves clean.
It's called Nadi Shodhana. When ready, step back to your Adho Mukha Svanasana, your downward facing dog. Again, let's all check our hands are equidistant from the sides of the mat with a visual check, obviously. Make sure the middle fingers face forwards. And then using movement to create meditative awareness. Move left, move right, move forwards, move backwards with intention. It's not random movement, it's intended movement. And the intention is to bring everything together, to move out of the scattered experience gradually into the unified. And that means getting every part of the body to agree rather than overwhelming parts of the body and just telling them to obey. We're not making the body obey, we're encouraging it to agree. So stretch up through to the hips. Play with the heels similarly. Do make sure the feet are equidistant from the sides of the mat. If the heels go back, the thighs go up, the back of the thighs go forwards, the top of the front thighs go back. Okay, well done. We're all coming down to kneeling, for which some people will definitely find it beneficial to put a block like this between the heels and buttocks if the knees are tight. If you haven't got a block, you can use a blanket or a towel. So one way or the other. Breathe through your nose if you can. This is called Vajrasana. Closed eyes if you want. One hand on top of the other, palms facing up. Released shoulders. Upright head. Nasal breathing if possible. And perhaps rolling. Rolling is often very useful. Rolling left, rolling right. Rolling. Breath. Expressive. Rolling enjoyably. Disappearing into the richness of the sensations. So rich that I sometimes call them a kaleidoscopic flow. It's like a kaleidoscopic flow of change, a kaleidoscopic field of change. That's what physical sensations are like. That's what mental sensations are like. That's what the world is like. Everything is changing. Okay, we can release and stretch our legs out in front of us for Dandasana. Now, many of us will find blocks very useful for Dandasana. That is to say, sitting on one or two. If you've got two, put two together, short end to short end like that. Put them on your mat and you sit on those. If you know that you can sit lightly, that the body sits lightly without blocks, particularly light in the lower back, then fine. You don't need blocks if you can feel that lightness without them. But most of us will benefit from blocks. We draw the buttock flesh out and back until we come to the inner front edge of the sitting bones. We take our hands level with our knees. We draw them back onto the blocks or maybe onto the floor. Head is up, in line with the spine. Breath is nasal. Shoulders are back, and we can feel various stretches around the shoulder muscles. The tummy is drawn in and the lower back is lifted. The breath is nasal, expressive, flowing, honest. Eyes are soft, as if looking for someone in the distance. Think it's someone approaching, not sure, is that them? That's the kind of focus the eyes have. The feet themselves softly spread from big toe side to little toe side. And of course, I've used the word softly, and I've used it twice and reiterated it now. They softly spread. Breath constantly expressive, sitting light and tall, shoulders back, shoulder blades down, eyes soft, breathing deep.
This is beautiful pose, Dandasana. Okay, we're going to ease out of the beautiful pose, Dandasana. You can stay on one block if you want, or if it's useful, because we're going to cross our legs for the Sukhasana. The buttock flesh is drawn out and back, so you come to the inner front edge of the sitting bones. And the chest is buoyant. Chest is buoyant. Breathing through your nose if you can. So Su means good, Ka means space. Asana in some texts after the 11th century can refer to postural positions. But actually, it comes from a root asa, which means to sit. So it more normally means a throne, a seat, something you sit on, or the act of sitting itself. Patanjali says that our seat should be easy and steady, which is psychophysical instruction. Inhale, lift. Exhale, turn towards this side of the room and breathe through your nose. One hand comes over the both legs. Don't push too hard. Focus more on softness at the lower part of the body and expressive breath. Softness at the lower part of the body and expressive breath. Keep your spinal column spacious if you can. Inhale to lift. Exhale to return to center, palms up, pause for 2 deep breaths. And on the third inhale, lift with it and turn the other way. So you're turning in the other direction. Massify the jaw until the temples feel soft. Honest, natural. Great. Release and return back to center. Slowly come out of the cross-legged and onto your back. You'll need a belt nearby. And so hopefully everyone's got a belt here in the class. Now, if your head tips back, use one of the blocks for your head, or even if you just want to, or even if you feel dizzy, a block under the head can be quite nice because it focuses attention into the heart. You don't have to put one there unless your head tips back, in which case you do have to put something there. Otherwise, the blood vessels that run to the brain are slightly impinged and your focus may be impaired. Have your legs bent to start with, soles of the feet on the floor, breathe through your nose, just let your back settle. Jaw soft, let your back settle. Breathe through your nose, let your back settle. Let your neck relax. Let the lower back relax. Take your belt when you're ready. And don't forget, if you're practicing at home, you can use things like a dressing gown belt if you don't have an actual yoga belt. There's always something, or even a sarong. Let's take the leg that's furthest away from this side of the room and bring the belt, the pata, as it's called in Sanskrit, around the front of the heel. If you've got a belt that you're particularly fond of, you might call it your pataka. You might add that ka ending. Or if you like all belts, you might call them all patikas. So walk up your pata or your pataka until your arms are straight and breath is through your nose. So walk up until your arms are straight. Your leg also should be straight, so not too far up the belt if your leg starts to bend. Relax the jaw, relax the throat, relax the neck, relax the shoulders. Extend the lower leg by first lifting it up off the floor, flexing the hip,
and then extending the lower leg with a view to feeling into the inner groin. So that's the top of the inner thigh, and feeling into it means a sense that you can stretch, elongate, open up. So things like re-lifting your leg, moving it left, moving it right, might be usable by you to find more connection to that inner groin. So you can do those extra actions, lifting, drifting, moving the leg. You can do those extra actions any amount of times to get access to that inner groin. And then you'll be returning the leg to the floor, but then you can do it again if you want, or if you find you've lost access to the inner groin. Movements of the foot might also be helpful in that lower leg to get access to the inner groin. You're not going to get instant access, and that's one of the reasons why it's good. As Patanjali tells us, we should be engaged with the Ananta, that which doesn't actually have an end. Okay, hold the Pata. One hand only. Breathe through your nose if you can. Neck soft, jaw soft. Pull that top leg towards your head and out to its own side. Take your time, out to its own side. The other hand can rest on the other leg. So this is Supta Padang Bhustasana number 2. The number 1 most important thing is not to hold your breath. This is inviting you to let go, to shed karmic particles. And the process by which karmic particles that have accrued to us shed is through the breath. The breath permits, the breath allows, the breath agrees. And that, of course, requires a certain amount of confidence in this process. So deep, natural breaths, jaw soft, eyes soft. If it feels like there's infinite adjustments, that's a good thing. You can come back to the inner groin of that, originally what was the lower leg. Okay, bring your top leg up slow and calm. Easy breathing. Bend your bottom leg, release your top leg, place the belt on your tummy or wherever's comfy. Scoot the buttocks under, take a deep breath, sigh like exhales. So sigh like exhales, plural. There's a real sense of yes. The Sanskrit, of course, for yes is Om. Om has several meanings, but one of the predominant meanings of Om is yes. It's an agreement. It can mean yes, it can mean so be it, or may it be so. So it's an affirmative, like yes. So we want to say yes to this moment. And that takes courage, because saying yes to this moment means letting go of that moment. You know, the ideas and opinions about this moment, you've got to let go of that if you want to feel the way things actually are. Let's raise, when we feel ready, the other foot. Then we're going to bring the pata, let's call it a patika, because I'm already fond of mine, around the front of the heel. Allow expressive breaths. Of course, the breath makes a huge difference anatomically. It stretches the intercostals, it releases the psoas and diaphragm. It helps activate the sternocleidomastoids and so on, releases the lumbar. All of this from deep breaths. And also the deep breath is beautiful in the sense that it invigorates and it finds in the body, it searches and finds dullness, tightness, resistance. And it invites that dullness, tightness, resistance to release. When you're ready, let's extend the lower leg, first by flexing the hip, meaning lift the foot up and bring the thigh close to the pelvis. And then secondly, by skimming or floating. But we've got this focus on feeling, discovering, searching for the inner groin, the top of the inner thigh. So for me, I do things like re-lift my leg, or I move my foot, or I drift the leg in or out. We should do anything anything at all that gives us increased access to a feeling of extension, stretch, or openness, or all in the inner groin of the lower leg. And hopefully we do find out that that process is infinite or without end, ananta. And when we meet the endless, that which we experienced as finite polarities, and particularly self, is reabsorbed. When you put something finite next to something infinite, it just disappears, like walking into the sea, rather, with a hand of salt. You walk into the ocean with your hand full of salt, and you walk around for a bit, you swim around for a bit, you'll come out, the salt will be gone without it. You won't be able to find it, because the ocean is so much more vast. It's disappeared, it's not been destroyed. Same with anything finite. Me, myself, and I get into an infinite adjustment like the inner groin, and the finite begins to be absorbed, disappear. And of course, problems have only one place that they can roost. We think of them like birds, and they need a roost, they need somewhere to land. Problems always land on a person. If that person is reabsorbed, is disappeared, then those problems will fly on looking for an actual person. They won't land on you because you've disappeared. Hold the patta with one hand only, the other hand on the other thigh, pull the patta, so pull the leg, and then out to its own side. Take your time. Breathe between the front hip points. Visualize, imagine, feel melting that is psychophysical. Visualize, imagine, feel melting that is psychophysical. Jaw is soft, neck is soft, breath is deep. Perhaps you can get a bit more extension on the inner groin of the lower leg. Maybe a movement of your foot. Breath, breath, breath. Bring that leg back up with the inhalation. Bend the lower leg, release the upper leg. Both feet on the floor, the belt to one side. Rest your hands on your ribs, upper or lower. Breathe deep through your nose if you can. So hopefully the breath's more natural. And the word for natural in Sanskrit is sahaja, which is simultaneously the same word that's used for spontaneous. So spontaneity, natural. That which is natural is spontaneous. That which is natural is spontaneous. It's lovely because it doesn't need, you to have a bunch of ideas about anything or opinions or things you've learned. It doesn't need that. It's spontaneous. It doesn't need anything you've taken from the past into the present. It doesn't need anything at all. It's just spontaneous. We're going to lift our feet up when we're ready, with bent knees still. We're going to plunge our arms through the inside of our legs and lift the head if you can. We're going to hold the big toes with our index finger, middle finger, and thumb, making a loop round the big toes. If you can hold yourself up for a bit, it's great for the abdominals. It makes an impression into the deep abdominal patterns, and those patterns are thereby challenged. But if you need to bring your head down relatively early, then of course you can and should, because we're going to bring it down in a moment anyway. We're going to bring it down by opening the angle at the back of the knees, letting the head come back down to the brick or the floor. The angle at the back of the knees will come to something like 90 degrees. And then there'll be a little rolling left and right. And the purpose of rolling, we could say on a mundane level, is to release the breath. So that's on its sort of expressed, I say mundane, I don't mean unimportant. I mean, on a sort of, perhaps I should use the word stula in Sanskrit, which means overt, gross, not subtle, but apparent. So you should roll in ways that really it's very, very apparent that they release the breath. You could roll right over to one side or the other if you wanted. The legs could extend more if you wanted, or stay bent if you wanted. It doesn't matter whether the legs are extended or bent. What does matter is the breath. So keeping the legs bent, if that's releasing your breath, that's the thing to do. Extending your legs, if that's releasing your breath, that's the thing to do. Occasionally, some people are very flexible who come to yoga. Well, just in case that's the case, those people could hold their heels if they want. That's another option. But it's not, the best option isn't the most flexible thing you can do. The best option is the thing that invites your breath to release, and with it, the mind. So that's whatever it is. The breath to release, and with it, the mind. So that's whatever it is. So if you're thinking about your breath releasing, that's not it. Just like thinking about eating a mango isn't going to satisfy your hunger. You can actually do it. Right? Whatever playful positions we've come into, we'll return back to the original, and we're going to release the big toes and place the feet down. A little lift and scoot under of the buttocks. So a little lift of the buttocks, scoot under is natural. You might want to do it once or twice or 3 times, fine, and then breathe. So the breath is really expressive. We think of yoga like a closed fist that's becoming an open palm, or has even become already an open palm, a closed fist that's become an open palm. That's the journey. That's called awakening. In the Bauddha tradition, the Buddhist tradition, that's called awakening, or bodhi. So deep breath, natural breath. Okay, flex your hips. That means lift your feet. Hug your legs. Wrap your arms around your legs. I've always been, so far anyway, since 1990, someone who likes to hug the legs with the knees apart. But I'm not saying I'll be that forever. Who knows what next year holds. But some people like to hold the legs together. That's fine. The point is, again, the breath. You know, and finding positions as you roll that imprint themselves into your nerves deeply enough to trigger the invitation to release. It remains an invitation. So you don't have to release. But of course, in yoga, we very much encourage, we very much point out that release of whatever the mind is taken hold of constitutes awakening, because whatever the mind has taken hold of simply acts as a veil to the way things are, because you never step in the same river twice. Whatever you think about the moment based on what you've experienced before is not that. It's this. We look at certain objects, we look at signs. The Buddha says, don't grasp at signs. If someone has a certain look and it reminds us of someone we liked or didn't like, we consider that a sign, and we like or don't like that person, even though we've never met them before, even if that is technically the same person that it was yesterday, got the same name, they got the same birthday, but they've changed because nothing stays still. As I often say when walking around our house in comment to various things that are said about life, the universe, and everything, I often say, there's no such thing as people. It's just a reflection based on conversations we have at home. You know, there's no such thing as people or a person. Because even if, you know, it's a continuum that has a birthday, has a name, has some parents, you know, etc. That continuum is changing all the time. The Buddhists call it santana. That's a description of what the personality is, santana. Okay, release nice and easy. It means continuum. Feet down. Deep breath, hands on the ribs. Breathe through your nose. Breathe through your nose, if you can. So stillness is an opportunity for a release or shedding. You can imagine it like sort of steam coming off the whole personality, the whole body, mind, breath. And that steam is whatever the body, mind, breath took hold of. And as this moment comes in, as you feel the weight of the body, or whatever the body, mind was holding is coming out, is releasing. Now we're going to release the block from under our head and we're going to put it under the pelvis, which is a simple thing to do. So you lift your bum, you put the block under your bum, the tailbone comes off the end. If you don't have a block when you're doing it at home, you can do it with a neatly folded blanket or a towel. Blankets are not useful if they're fleece blankets, by the way. Not useful for this sort of thing. Tailbone off the end, breathing easy. Tailbone are the 3 to 5 bones beneath the sacrum. The sacrum is the back of the pelvis. And hopefully that's orientated you. Let's raise up one leg straight up towards the ceiling and dorsally and plantar flex the foot, meaning point the toe, push the heel. You can add circles if you want. You can add scrunching up the toes and releasing them if you want. And you can mix those together in any remix that you want. Okay, so dorsiplantar flexion, circling or half circling, scrunching, unscrunching the toes. So you might move between them at any various pace, any various amounts, but breath and love and ease. Breath and love and ease. Once you've got some movement in that leg, we bring the other one up. Similarly, that one comes down. Breathe through your nose deep. Again, dorsiplantar flexion, good place to start. But you can also add circles and half circles and scrunching and unscrunching. Jaw absolutely passive. Breathing absolutely natural. Enjoyment. I don't think I've mentioned that yet during the class. It's part of yoga. So some of you might have been thinking, oh, this is hard, but that's just yoga. It's hard, it's difficult. But actually, enjoyment, or even give you the nominative singular in Sanskrit, is bhoga. Enjoyment, experiencing, really experiencing things is enjoyable. That's a big part of it. Okay, bring that leg down. Take your hands to the brick, walk your feet in, flip it over to its second highest height across the sacrum. The sacrum is fairly broad, it's 4 to 5 fused bones. A little shorter usually in women than men because of the function of childbirth. It requires a bit more maneuverability, so the SI joint tends to be a bit less stable. Anyway, it goes across the SI joint, which is the joint between the sacrum and the bones of the pelvis, the ilium. Breathe through your nose if you can. Hands on your lower ribs if you want. Let your breath be natural. And remember, the Sanskrit means spontaneous. Sanskrit for natural. It's nice, isn't it, when things are spontaneous? So on the most subtle of subtle levels, there's discussion about self in the South Asian tradition. But on a more gross level, everyone agrees that the body is not self. The personality is not self. Memory is not self. Opinion is not self. Why? Because all these things are co-created. How can they be mine individually when they're co-created? Why else? Because these things are changed. As everything changes around us, So does our thoughts, so do our thoughts, so do our opinions, so do our physical sensations. Couple more deep breaths if you can.
Wow.
Okay, walk in, heels up. Tone your tummy means draw your tummy in and pull your ribs towards your head. Then take the block out. Then walk your feet down. Put the block to one side, hands under the head, fingers interlaced, deep breaths from everybody. See if you can allow at least 5 deep breaths to flow through. Just totally surrender, like I surrender. The Sanskrit word is Sharanagati. I surrender, Sharanagati. I surrender to this moment totally. I give my body to the breath, to the moment, to the spontaneity, to Shakti. Shakti is a word, Sanskrit word, which means power. But it is spontaneous power. It is power that's not coming from personal bias. It's arising out of openness, out of surrender. Surrender is openness. Openness births spontaneity. Lift your feet when you're ready so that your lower back is more intimate with the floor. And then lift your head as well. This pushes the lower back into the floor. And of course, the floor pushes back against the lower back. Hopefully, the floor is a more solid thing than the flesh of the back. And so it presses back into the soft tissue of the back. And that squeezes out the hyaluronic acid in that area, which will mean when we release in a moment, it will flood back in a greater quantity. So we're going to release toes and head. The toes only will land. That is, the heels won't land. So the head comes down, the toes come down, only the toes land. That's going to exercise the abdominal muscles to keep the toes up. Nothing wrong with that. Lift up again. So slowly floating in.
Babies.
Breathing through your nose if you can. Jaw soft. Sometimes it sets off a little tremble. Nothing wrong with that. Coming down again, only the toes land. Of course, the head lands, but I'm saying that the heels don't. Really feel your lower back is intimate with the floor. Again, float up. Head and legs. We're not yanking on the neck. It's the abdominals that are pulling up the head. So hopefully by now, there's a little
mountains and
burn.
rivers.
Okay, one more time. Head and toes, toes only. Down. Control it by staying present with each micro moment. Stay fully present.
Oh,
And
the sun of
the
discs.
last one
That's
up.
you. That's my son.
Again, last one.
Hey, there you are again with the bow and arrow.
Breathe through your nose. Don't hold the breath. Such a thing as over-concentrating. Come down with the head first, then elbows, then toes, then heels, then breath. Expressive, deep, honest, natural breath. Expressive,
That's
deep,
on an
honest,
adventure.
natural breath. Expressive, deep, honest, natural. Spontaneous. Remember the word natural? Spontaneous. Release your hands from behind your head. Raise up one leg. Doesn't matter which one. You choose. And then you're going to dorsally and plantar flex the foot, pointing the toe, pushing the heel. Importantly, the breath is expressive. That's how we keep the door, the exit door open. Because yoga, as it goes in, will invite whatever the body mind has taken hold of to come out. On its way out, it comes through consciousness. As it comes through consciousness, consciousness might take hold of it and presume it to be self. And then it gets complicated, gets involved, might make it worse, might make it deeper, might spin it round, might re-traumatize us, whatever. But actually, stand out of the way of the exit. It's coming up into consciousness on its way out. So don't stand in front of the exit. Turn your heel in, toes out, cross that leg over the other one. My preference for this is to go above where the outer ankle sticks out. We're going to lift the foot that's on the floor off the floor. We're going to plunge through the gap between the legs and interlace around the far shin, and then return the head to the floor if you lifted it, and roll purposefully. So you're rolling left, you're rolling right, purposefully. You might roll really far over one way or the other. So it's purposefully. What is that purpose? That purpose, or that artha, is absorption or reabsorption. Where that separate sense of me, thinking about myself, thinking about my body, thinking about my life, thinking about my yoga, is reabsorbed like salt reabsorbed into the ocean. You can't find it anymore. This is based on a metaphor we find in the Upanishads. Salt merging into water is gone, but it's not been destroyed. So this is how we retain this very clear sense of ahimsa. Nothing is attacked. Nothing is, destroyed. Nothing is gotten rid of. Everything just reabsorbs, that's all. So tiroda means reabsorption. Let's release when we're ready. Both feet down. Scoot the buttocks. Take a deep breath. Hands on the ribs. Let's have a few deep breaths. Yeah, that's it. Like love, you surrender to the breath. Surrender is the most powerful thing you can do in your life. If you want to know your full power, know surrender. And if you want to know your full power, it comes out of surrender. I was once talking to a midwife friend, and she was telling me about this couple, and they were kind of very sort of proper, husband and wife couple, very, very proper, very smart, came in, the wife was in labor, came into the hospital to give birth. And slowly and surely the wife started to make wild banshee noises and strip off her clothes. And she was walking up and down the corridor, apparently making these noises. And the husband, who had never seen his wife in this way before, behave like this, was like, "Oh, darling, maybe we should go into the room and, maybe you should wear a robe and blah, blah, blah." But she needed Shakti because she didn't know as a person how to give birth, but Shakti knows. And Shakti knows how to dance, and Shakti knows how to sing, and Shakti knows how to talk, and Shakti knows how to practice yoga. And so she just surrendered. Shakti arose, she had to surrender. And then that surrender birthed the power, a true power. Similarly here, surrender. This is a power. You surrender to this power. When you're ready, raise up the other leg, second leg, and then still move intuitively or powerfully. The powers of Shakti are even listed. The power to know, Jnana Shakti. The power to want to move, Icha, that means desire or want or will. And then the actual movement itself, Kriya Shakti. Finally, Shakti has one more power. It's the power of freedom. It's free. Swatantriya Shakti. Heel in, toes out, cross that leg over the other, lift the foot that's on the floor off the floor, plunge through the gap when you're ready, and roll about. So you're rolling about purposefully. Rolling about purposefully. Looking for sensations that are rich enough to be able to knock you off your tracks. Humans are like little trams. We get up in the morning, we get onto a little tram line of being who we have been told that we are, that we've presumed ourselves to be, that society has asked us to be. And off we go, in those modus operandi. But yoga, the intensity of yoga, and that means being open to anything intense: sunsets, coffee, hugs, stretches of the IT band. Yoga essentially knocks you off your tracks. It does that through richness. So if you don't feel a lot of richness in the position you're in, try moving. Try finding more richness, more intensity. It's called in Sanskrit tivra. Tivra means intense. Okay. Slow and easy. Release your feet. Roll over onto your side, facing forwards. Extend your bottom arm. Now, you've got choices here. If you find, if there's any problem with the wrist, for example, you might want to use a blanket. Extend your arm. Put the blanket between your head and arm and wrist like that. That's very, very nice. Or if you're comfortable to do so, you might want to rest your head on your hand. Either way, we're going to lengthen our bottom ribs and we're going to lengthen the armpit. And then we're going to roll a little. Rolling's great. We love rolling in Vajrasati Yoga. So rolling forwards, rolling backwards, looking for sensations that make an impression deep into the nerves that then invite what the body is holding to release. I used to say it by saying, the body can't follow two masters simultaneously. And then years after, I went on to describe it like a radio set that can't tune into two different radio stations simultaneously. More latterly, I've described it like a muddy puddle. That if you press your foot into a muddy puddle and press down slow and steady, whatever's in the puddle in the form of gases will come out because it can't both hold your foot and those gases. Make an impression into the body, and whatever the body-mind was holding gets invited to come out. You can accept that invitation through your breath. The suggestion is accept that invitation through your breath. Okay, we're going to come up. So when you've come back to the center, knees up and come up and swing around for the second side. It's a great way of massaging the IT band. Everything's the same in terms of whether you want to use some support under your head with your arm extended or whether you want to support your head with your hand. You extend your bottom ribs, that's the same. You extend your armpit, that's the same. And then we're rolling. And hopefully you've got, you might find sensations that are so tender that it makes you want to scratch the floor or slap the floor like a wrestler from the old days. I don't know what wrestlers are like now. I think they're a bit more serious now, perhaps. In the old days, they were usually pretty overweight men wearing really tight leotards. What a shock to the eyes it was. Pretending to fight each other, doing pretty much nothing. And when one was pretending to do, well, a classic move would be to bend someone's leg. It's like, well, it's not, just bending there. Someone else bends someone else's leg. And then they pretend to surrender. But they did that by slapping the canvas. So that's what we're looking for here. Sensations that make you want to, make your mouth into an O shape, make your toes curl, make you want to scratch the floor, make you want to slap the floor, make you want to express in proto-language, oohs, ahs, oh my gods. Okay, I could roll. I think you could roll. We could roll for a really good long time, but we're going to bring the knees up when we're ready, and we're going to push to come all the way up and onto hands and knees. Take a breath or two, little circling, a little movement to help the wrists disappear. So what we're talking about when the wrists, I say the wrists disappear, I mean the tension within the wrists So whatever the wrists have taken hold of, movement left, movement right, circling, is purposed to make that tension disappear. We're going to come up into Adho Mukha Svanasana, the downward facing dog position. When you're ready, really stretch through the back, through the heels. We elongate the heels backwards. I like to visualize at the front of my legs that the thigh bone lifts up and away from the shin bone. I sort of feel there's a depth from the back of the leg and a lift up and away of each thigh bone, away from each shin bone at the front. Keep breathing, playing with it. Get some of that energy through your back if you can, in waves, in successive waves. We're going to come forwards so that the shoulders are above the wrists. It's a big stretch for the wrists, but I know you'll be good for it. Chaturanga Dandasana, you might do your own version, which might be a belly flop. Urdhva Mukha Svanasana, the head up dog position, either with toes tucked or toes pointing back, pulling up from the pubis through to the chest, back of the arms down to the heels of the hands, pulling up through the chest from pubis to chest. And then drop the knees, hands and knees, draw a deep breath, come forwards to kneeling. Again, take a block if it's useful. One hand on top of the other, breathing through your nose if you can. Jaw soft, eyes soft, throat soft, brain soft, tongue soft. Mantra uchara, that is to say, sending mantras, 3 mantras up through from the pelvic floor, through the imagined central channel and up out of the crown of the head. So 3 times. It's up to us, only we can do this, to visualize and to really imagine, to tell ourselves that we can feel that sound moving from low to middle to high to out of the crown of the head. So that sound will be Om. We're going to make it 3 times. And it's our penultimate practice today. Down to the pelvic floor with a deep breath in. Om. Right up at the crown of the head. Next one when you're ready. Om. Visualize it moving. Last one. Oh. At the end of that, you take a deep breath in with a sigh like exhale. And let a few of those happen naturally, spontaneous. Yeah, like a closed fist that's become an open palm, spontaneous. Sharanagati. Power comes through giving. That's it. Power comes through giving. We're going to give our bodies to the floor now by laying down on our backs. So when you're ready, laying down on your back. And even if you've only got a minute to do this, then it's worth doing it for a minute. Even if you only had 30 seconds to do it, it's worth doing it for 30 seconds. So laying on your back, palms facing up, with your head tips back, provide head support, Shavasana, corpus pose. The arms should be well placed away from the body, away from not on the yoga mat. The shoulder blades should be scooted under so the chest has a buoyancy and openness to it. And we come back to this very simple but super important principle that we can point out in so many ways, that giving is the source of power. Giving is the source of your power, of your beauty. All your beauty and power arise out of giving. So give the body to the breath. Totally. Give the body totally, like entirely. Total surrender. So to not be tardy, I'll invite you to wiggle your toes and feel energy spread through your pelvis, through the buttocks, through the legs, through the shins to the toes. So wiggle the toes, feel the energy. Wiggle the fingers and feel energy spread through the chest, through the back chest, front chest, left chest, right chest, through to the fingers, through the arms. Wiggle both and feel the energy from both those areas spread through the whole body, meeting with one another, those two energies, and spreading everywhere equally, whether that be the toes, the fingertips, the back of the body, front of the body, the head, the face, everywhere, energy. Bend your legs, place your feet on the floor. Scoot the buttocks under towards the heels. Take a deep breath that I can hear. In and out. Let a few of those deep breaths come and go naturally. When you're ready, roll over onto your side, facing away from the shrine side of the room, and lay as comfortably as you can on your side. Knees drawn up, tummy skin soft. Take your own time to roll back again towards the shrine side of the room. Let in some light and color, some sound and sensation. Perhaps there's some stretches. When you feel ready to come up easeful from the side, and bring yourself to a position where you can face towards the shrine with your hands in a prayer position at the heart. If you agree with these following words, you can indicate your agreement with the Sanskrit word Om. May any benefit that we've gained in our acting in this way go to the alleviation of the suffering of all beings. Om. Thank you very much for coming. Millions of things happening in September. Yoga teacher training, enrolling now. Yoga and Buddhism course, enrolling now. A full immersion day on the equinox, enrolling now. Blah, 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 blah. Thanks for coming, guys. So much love to you. Thank you all. You guys are gorgeous. Stay out of trouble now.